Hi, this is Shana with Against the Green Homestead. Today I'm going to show you how I pickle our okra. So every year we make pickled okra, and it is a staple here in our house. Anytime we go, to someone's house, depending on why we're going, most often I will bring a pint of pickled okra as well. I always get asked for the recipe. Um, so I thought I would go ahead and show you how we do it. We have been growing okra on our own as a married couple for about 20 years now. We steam it, we fry it, we pickle it. We save our own okra seeds. That's what these are from. Seed that I saved a couple years ago. I have been actually, even growing okra since I was 13 or 14. I forget which. I helped a farmer in the area. His garden was huge. It produced enough for him and his wife for the year, for the community, and they even sold to a couple grocery stores in town. And it wasn't just okra. They had tomatoes and corn and everything. Anyhow, so I have a lot of experience, several years worth of experience with okra. But this year, our okra plants, they have just been insane. So since sometime in July or early August, and this is October 3rd. So in the last, I don't know, couple months, 8 to 10 weeks, maybe a little longer, I'm not quite sure, I have already canned over 90 pints of pickled okra. So whatever I can today will be in addition to that. Plus we've canned more, but we've already eaten some. We have frozen a few gallons already for cut and fried okra later. We have eaten steamed okra about every week. We've let several go to seed to save to plant next year. Anyway, the okra is just very prolific. You have to cut it every day, every 2 days at the most. But if you're interested in okra, I actually have a whole playlist on where I just went over our okra patch, showing you how it grows. I also have a video that you might find interesting when it comes to consuming okra on the different sizes of okra and what we use each size for. So, okay, let's go ahead and get started on canning the okra because I think everything is ready to go. So first of all, I'm not going to go through and show you everything that I have laid out and that I use for canning. If you're interested in that, I do have a video. I will link that somewhere, either up here or in the description box. But that video shows everything that I use for canning, whether pressure canning or water bath canning, and how I have it all laid out. So, you can look at that. Okay, so over here, our jars in the water bath canner, our jars are hot and they're ready to go. Back here I have the pickling brine. Over here I have some okra. So to prepare the okra, it's like these were cut this morning, okay? So to prepare the okra, when I'm ready to can them, I just give them a quick rinse in the water and then set them over here in this little strainer and away we go. Okay, so we start canning. So one thing to know is that this recipe or process or method of water bath canning that I'm going to show you today, the vinegar to water ratio is the same, and that's what's truly important. It is the same for what the bulb blue book to canning or preserving as to what it calls for. But I do things a little differently. Like I think in their pickled okra recipe it calls for dill, I think, maybe a couple other things. We kind of changed that up a little bit to suit our taste. So, so on one hand, this is an approved recipe, but on the other hand, I tweaked it a little bit. But the vinegar is really the important thing here. Okay, so we're using 5% acidity vinegar with our water. So let's get started. Okay, so everything is ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get my first jar out of the water bath canner. Okay, so we got our jar here. Just came out of the hot water bath canner. Okay, so what I do is for my pint jars, I do a heaping half teaspoon of dried crushed red pepper. And then I do a teaspoon of minced garlic. And this can be store-bought garlic or your own homegrown or even just store-bought fresh garlic. And then I take the okra and I kind of tilt the jar, lay it down somewhat, and just start packing the okra in here. Okay, and you want it packed in there really good. Then you take your boiling brine over here and you just ladle your brine over the okra to a 1/2 inch headspace. Okay, so now what you need to do now is, well, what you would normally do and what I used to do for so many years was I would debubble it. So I would take like a chopstick in there and move the okra around to help get any bubbles. But whenever you do that, since you packed it so tightly, when you start moving it, most often the okra will just float to the surface. And then, you know, it's kind of hard to really factor in the true headspace. So I let this set while I do another one. Okay, so while I'm doing the second one here, and this one is setting, what it's doing is it's giving time for that boiling hot water to kind of go into the okra and around the okra to help flush out any air that there might be. So if you look on top, you'll see all kinds of little bubbles coming to the surface. So this is how I debubble the okra. Okay, so now I have the second one here, right? So now it's time for me to go ahead and put the lid on the first one. So since it has been setting and debubbling on its own here, what I like to do is I take my hand and I look at the part of the jar that's in front of me and I just kind of tap it and I turn it a quarter turn and tap it again. And I do that the 4 times to go around. And when I'm looking, I'm just looking for any trapped air that there might be, but the tapping helps to release any additional air. And again, measure your headspace after you tap it and you leave it debubbling. You just want your band on, just to fingertip tight, back in the canner. Okay. So we're just going to keep doing that until we have them all done. So fingertip tight is whenever you just put your band on. You can see it's really loose, and you just go until you feel resistance, like this, and you just go a little bit more, okay? But you don't crank down with your wrist. You use your fingers to put it on there really snug, okay? That's what fingertip tight is. So be sure to check out my other canning videos. Of course, this is pickled okra. I also have I have several videos actually on tomatoes, canning potatoes. After I am done canning these pickled okra, I'm going to be canning green beans, so that video will be available as well. So in case you noticed, yes, I do reuse some jars that are not marked for canning. So this particular jar it's a glass jar, and it was a Walmart Great Value natural peanut butter jar. So it is not a ball or a cur jar. I have absolutely no problem and never have had any problem reusing store-bought unmarked jars for water bath canning. I personally do not use them for pressure canning, but I will, if I have them, use them for water bath canning, no problem. And yes, I also reuse canning lids. I have never, in almost 20 years of canning myself, I have never had a problem with reusing a lid. I do have several things I look for, and I'll put a video out on that at some point. And reusing canning lids is something that I did before I heard you weren't supposed to. Anyhow, so just wanted to share those little things with you. Now we have our pints in the canner, and the water is good and hot. I went ahead and turned it back up to high as soon as I put this last one in here. I go ahead and lower the rack back into the water. And we want the water to cover our jars by at least 1 inch. So 1 to 2 inches, but 1 inch is just right. About 1.5 inches, so we are just fine. All right. And I like to just give them a quick look over. All right, everything looks good. Now we put the lid on, and once this starts boiling, like a rolling boil, not a simmering, but an actual boil, then we will start our time and process the pints for 15 minutes. Okay, so the 15-minute timer, it just went off, so we're going to turn the burner off, and we're going to take the lid off. Of course, turn the lid away from you. Okay, and we're going to set the timer for 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes, then we will remove the jars. The 5-minute timer went off, and you can see they stopped boiling now. So now I'm going to go ahead and elevate the rack. So now we're going to carefully remove the jars from the canner. These jars will sit here until tomorrow morning, so it'll be over 12 hours that they will be sitting here undisturbed. So right now they have hard water, residue on them. So after 12 to 24 hours, so like I said, tomorrow, mid-morning sometime, I will go ahead and I will wipe these off. I'll check the label, I'll check the seals, and then I'll label them and store them. So again, they just need to stay here undisturbed for 12 to 24 hours. And what that does, that just makes sure that they're going to have all the time they need to fully seal. So instead of waiting until tomorrow morning for those jars to go ahead and, seal and for me to wipe down and everything, I just want to go ahead and get this video edited and uploaded because I need the space on my phone. So I decided to go ahead and just show you, an example of what the okra looks like once it's actually already done and sealed and everything. So doesn't really matter which one, I guess. Okay, so here's one. Of course, they all look like this. Okay, so of course all of these are sealed. They've all been wiped down. So how to test for the seal. See if I can do it one-handed in here. So the seal here, you just want to make sure that when you press it, it doesn't spring back up. And I also take just my fingertips and I grasp just the, let me see if I can do it up here. Sorry. I grasp just the outer lid like this, and I try to kind of shake it off, and you can tell it's sealed that way. And then of course you want to label it, so I just label pickled okra, and then I put the year. So there you go. And then these things are stored down here in our part of our food storage area. So, and no, I'm not like most people on YouTube. We're not going to share. Sorry, I would like to, but no, we're not going to share that. But anyway, so I just wanted to show you what the pickled okra, looks like after it's sealed and how to test the seals. So again, thank you for watching, and if you make pickled okra and try it this way, let me know if you like it or not. I will say that anyone who's ever tried it has loved it except for 2 people, and those 2 people do not like pickles, even like cucumber pickles. They just don't like the vinegar, the sour taste. Okay, but everyone else, we have converted countless people over the years. So anyway, so if you try it, let me know if you like it or not. So thank you for watching.